Welcome to this speed build of a Victorian haunted house, but it's also a tiny house. It is 62 tiles, so it's a tier 2 tiny house, because I thought, you might want like a spooky haunted Victorian house, but you might not have like the budget for a big Victorian haunted house. So here is the option for a bit more budget-friendly haunted house. It didn't turn out to be that budget-friendly, to be honest. I think it's about 62,000 simoleons. So, but it is tiny. Although, when you watch this speed build, I did make a mistake, which would have meant that the house would have been 68 tiles. I know. It's scary to think of, but I did fix it. So the house you can download on the gallery is 62. So it's a tiny house in all senses of the word, I suppose. Maybe not in the sense of a tiny house in real life. I don't think you can have like a free floor Victorian house and count that as a tiny house. I don't know. In the Sims world, it's a tiny house. That's it. I suppose actually micro house, so if you have the tiny living pack, then there are 3 tiers. There's the first tier, which is a micro house, which is 32 tiles. And I suppose that's more what we would call a tiny house in the real world, I suppose. But at least this is a very small haunted Victorian house. And I think it ended up looking really nice. One of the things I think ended up looking, one of the things I was most happy with this build was this little overhang over the door on the first floor, and I've kind of got it to work. Actually, I'm really happy with how the roofing looked in this house, because I wanted a tower. Is it really a haunted house if you don't have some sort of tower? I don't think so. But I was still limited in regards to how big the house could be, because I wanted it to be a tiny house, because that just sounds good. Tiny haunted Victorian house. Tiny Victorian haunted house. Yeah. I don't know what will end up being the title to this video. Time will tell. One thing I did have a bit of trouble with was figuring out the color scheme for the roofing and the walls, and I did end up changing it a bit later, because it ended up being very grey and dark, and because yes, I did want it to be like a bit murky and scary and desolate, I suppose, but not really this color scheme. I'm happier with the color scheme. I sort of changed the window frames and the door and the roofing to later, but we'll get to that. One thing. Oh yeah, so this lot I built it on is in Windenburg, which is okay. So first of all, I used 3 packs for this build. I used the Get Together, which this world Windenburg comes with that pack. I used vampires, because it has all that sort of gothic Victorian thing, and it has like a lot of spider's web and all sort of stuff that's great for making a haunted house. And then I used, of course, the new pack paranormal. So so that's the 3 packs I used for this build. And then I built it on this lot in Windenburg, in the sort of like downtown area of this sort of old European sort of town. I think Windenburg is supposed to be in Europe somewhere. And when I started building, I was like, okay, but why don't I build on this lot, more, because it is a small lot, and I do like to build on small lots. What I quickly realized, there's a really good reason why I don't use this lot more than I do. That's because you have these sort of hills, or the town is sort of in different levels, and you will probably notice that sometimes the camera sort of just goes flying flying up, and it's really annoying when you're trying to build. So that's why I don't use that a lot more. So that was quite annoying. Yeah. This really murky garden pond. At first I was thinking about making it so you could swim in it, but then I did end up, before putting it on a gallery, like removing access to the pond, because I'm thinking, do you really want to swim in a pond where, you know, first of all, you can't look down in it. It does seem a bit dangerous and really, yeah, a bit disgusting. So you can't swim in the pond. I removed that. And then we have like a lovely little abandoned family graveyard, because why not? That's also why I wanted to use the vampire pack, so I could get these gravestones. The tree is also a debug item from the vampire pack. I think I mainly used the vampire pack to decorate the garden, the sort of outside of the house. And then I used a lot of the build by items from the paranormal pack to decorate the inside. And then I suppose Get Together was just everything else. I don't know. But yeah, I really like the buy items. Well, the build by. Well, I suppose. I really like the furniture we got with the paranormal pack. It got like some sort of cartoon version of Victorian. Does that make sense? It has like a lot of like a Scooby-Doo vibe to it, because it has these like really lovely vibrant colors, which is just glorious. For instance, and I'm gushing over it, sorry, but the wallpaper is so nice, and it have all these canary yellow swatches on the furniture, and I really like it. But it did result in the garden and the outside of this house being significantly more gloomy than the inside. The inside is a bit more cheerful, but also still, you know, very cramped. But because it is a tiny house, fully functional, play tested, tiny house. But yeah, very, very cramped. Especially because, you know, I did want it to have everything. It does have like a full kitchen with a fridge and a stove. And the fridge is placed on a bit of a weird angle, because I had to make it work with the bathroom, the bathroom might be a bit big, especially considering that I put the bathtub in the attic. But, you know, yeah, everything worked. So, this small area I'm building in the garden here, I was thinking that this house could be built on top of some sort of, I don't know, Roman ruins, I suppose. So this could sort of be the leftovers from an old, I don't know, some sort of old Roman structure. And then you just sort of built the house on top. Because then, you know, there's a bit of a backstory to some of the ghosts, I'm thinking. I actually read about the story about, I think it was like a plumber apprentice who was doing some plumbing, I suppose, in this old house in somewhere in Yorkshire. I can't remember the details. I think I've already gotten like 3 details wrong. He probably wasn't a plumber. Anyway, but he was doing some plumbing in this very old house, where he saw a legion of Roman soldiers. I don't know if it was a legion. A legion is quite a lot. He saw some Roman soldiers, you know, walk past him in this sort of cellar, and he gave this like very vivid description of it, about how they were dressed, and you know, and everyone you know, didn't believe him, because first of all it was ghost, and the way he had described how they were dressed, that didn't line up with what they knew about Roman soldiers and how they would have been dressed, and there weren't any soldiers in that area. That didn't work. And then, you know, I don't know, something like 20 years later, they started some excavating, and they found out that yes, there was Roman soldiers placed right in, the area where this house was built, and they found they found out that, well, they probably would have been dressed exactly as he had described. So that's a bit fun. I don't know if I believe in anything supernatural, but that was a bit of a curious coincidence instead. But I do feel bad for that plumber, who no one believed him, and he had to take off a month off because he had been so scared. So I don't know. So this is I don't know. This is an old house with a lot of story. A lot of people lived here. Maybe some Romans too. So this is the first floor in the house. You can see it's already a bit cramped. So we have that bathroom, which just does grow by half a tile. So you can actually use it in just a bit. And then I wanted to have I suppose a dining table chair in that small hexagon area. And the kitchen. And the kitchen is fully functional, but it is very cramped. and this bathroom is really where, the most space are. I did skip over the little hallway, which is a shame. I used a ton of paranormal items for that little hallway, but I have forgotten to film it, which I'm really hoping is not starting to be a thing I do. I forget to film one room in every build. I forgot it last time too. No. Anyway, this kitchen, fully functional. I thought it would be a problem. It's not a problem at all. There's only one thing in this house I had to move, and I'll tell you when we get to that, but that's on the second floor. But this kitchen was fully functional. Oh, yeah, those cabinets, they are from Vampire. The Vampire stuff pack. Was that stuff pack? It wasn't a stuff pack, it was a game play pack. Was it just called Vampires? I can't remember. Anyway, I went for this sort of a bit muted, but also very colorful option down here, with a lot of blue and red and sort of dark red and a bit muddy red. And I thought it quite suited it. I had a ton of trouble figuring out what color chairs to use there. And I did end up changing the colors of the chair. Like this last thing I did on this floor was basically changing the color of those chairs again. You didn't see it because I cut it out, but I experimented with a lot of different chairs. For some reason that gave me a lot of trouble. Oh yeah, and again the Vampire stuff pack has all these lovely cracks in the walls to give it that sort of abandoned look. Yeah, I don't really like how it ended up looking. I mean, those stone walls, they might have been there before the rest of the house was built. It could have been built on the foundation of another house. That might be where some of the ghost comes from. I don't know. I just wanted this house to have a ton of history. I have also sort of been trying to build a bigger haunted mansion. Also with I've already sort of pictured all these sort of ghosts with the different areas in this mansion, but I haven't reached a point when I'm thinking this looks good or I like this. I mean, I have the idea. I was thinking some sort of mansion where there's a lot of greenhouses. I really wanted a lot of greenhouses because I really want this idea of plants spilling out of the windows and it being completely overgrown and just, it might be abandoned, but it's sort of being reclaimed by nature. I thought that would be really neat, but it doesn't look right yet, so it hasn't become a thing yet. So on this floor I use a ton of paranormal built by items, including the lovely wallpaper. I really like that wallpaper. I really love the plants we got with this pack as well. This plant in particular. Also, actually, I think I like all the items. There's not really an item I'm thinking all the items are actually really nice in this pack. I haven't played a ton with the pack, but what I have played was really quite fun. They're so cute. you know, the specters. It's so nice, and I'm really oh, I gotta play it. I'm really looking forward to it, because I think this could... I mean, I don't know if I believe in anything supernatural, but I definitely enjoy, like, consuming media, you know, TV shows, movies, and so on, with sort of a supernatural stories. So I'm really looking forward to playing this pack a bit more when I have a bit of time. But what I've played looked really interesting. So, and I love the furniture. Okay, so here I had a bit of trouble figuring out how to do like a living room arrangement. I ended up deciding there's not gonna be a TV, which I end up deciding in a lot of houses, but you do have a bit of a living room arrangement. And then I had to have like somewhere to put a computer, and this is where I had to move something to make this house playable. I had to turn around this little computer chair and table, which also ended up looking better. So, but in order to make it playable, that's the only thing I had to move. So that's nice. You know, sometimes when it's these cramped, tiny houses, you're not always sure you can like actually move in the house, even though it might look nice like it is. You also have to make sure it's actually playable. But it is now, at least the version I put up on the internet. So I think I really like how this house ended up looking. Maybe it'll give me like the confidence to actually finish the bigger haunted mansion, which is still very much well, unfinished at the moment. Let's just leave it at that. But it'll probably have to be next week again, because I was thinking it could be fun to do like a couple of videos for next week with this sort of theme, I suppose. And I wanted to do, I've already made one video for it. I wanted to do a bunch of videos, a bunch of builds under the theme like Scandinavian or Nordic, I suppose. The first one I've built is based on a real life floor plan, a real life house, and it's sort of like a typical Danish single family home or bungalow. It's like one floor, and I thought it could be quite fun to do because you know, that's the sort of house I grew up in. And it's also, I found this out, it's also the house that most people in Denmark, that sort of house, not the house, that sort of house, it's the house that most people in Denmark live in. It's something like, the population of Denmark is like 5.7, I think, million people. We're not a big country, but 3 million people live in these sort of one floor single family homes. I think that would be a bungalow too, I suppose. Bungalows all over the place. Anyway, and I've also made plans for this base game starter in a sort of a Swedish traditional style. I think that could be quite fun. And I really want to do like a bit of like a traditional Faroese style house with turf roofing. That could be quite fun. So that's sort of what I've planned. I can't really call it Scandinavian when I include something from the Faroe Islands, but Nordic. I suppose the theme for next week will be like Nordic builds. But yeah, if you have like any suggestion either for what to build next week or anything else, feel free to leave a comment down below. Subscribe if you want to keep up with what I do. But most importantly, I hope you have a really nice day. Goodbye.